You mentioned it loosely just a moment ago about all these different technologies. It's kind of the culture of experimentation and learning that you seem to have cultivated, right? Because you mentioned before, hey, we want this outcome. There are great suppliers of technology that could possibly help us get there. And you're saying, hey, we're going to figure out which one of these is going to help us get there faster, better, something better than all the others, in this constant thirst for application. And then you also very customer centric too, right? Where you said, hey, if we do it, the people using it cannot know, because that's very customer centric. Because if I know it's a problem, I'll put a wrench in your automation because I'm going to introduce the support tickets. You're going to get flooded with support tickets. You won't be automating anything.
Because it's a change fatigue for the user. For them, it's a change and a lot of stress, and we don't want to have them that stress.
You know, this show is sponsored by Salesforce. You mentioned it earlier. They also want to know how are you using Salesforce also to help you in your automation journey? Because for a lot of people, like I know that what we did back in the day was mostly about contracts, right? So Salesforce held all our customer information. It definitely automated the contracting process. It was a huge help for yourselves. What are you guys using Salesforce for? Because obviously a treasure trove of data about customers in there. And it sounds like you guys, since you're so customer centric, how is that helping you implement technologies, automations to help better your customer and employee experiences?
Yeah, I think multiple ways, but one or two examples if I can highlight. You touched on it. Let's take that example, customers. Our customer information typically in any CRM resides in Salesforce. And if you look at the model that we have sales organizations and we have customer success organization who are also working with our customers. The one thing that we want to do right is how do we enable both the salespeople as well as the customer success people know about the customers well enough and equip them in a right way quickly so that they can have meaningful conversations with customers to drive better outcomes for our customers. It's not about the tools and their jobs. What we ultimately think is the outcome we are working on is how do they serve customers better. And so which means we need to make it seamless for them of creating, and we created something within Salesforce called customer portal, where we created this so that when salespeople, sales reps, sales agents, or customer success managers or agents go in, they particularly inquire about a customer, it gives them the required information that both sales needs and customer success needs, and one set of information. It's not like two different things. Things are stitched behind the scenes, automated, but both of them see the same information and they can have meaningful conversation with the customers in driving their outcomes. And so that I have seen a lot of, we call named account reps and salespeople tell that was so useful. I had the information that I needed quickly, so I was able to have meaningful conversation with the customer, which landed in a great outcome for both customer and Autodesk. So that's one example. And the other thing we use is we have Omnichannel. So we use Salesforce Voice, which is connected to different telecom providers behind the scenes. But when a customer calls us, we want to make sure skill-based routing. We want to make sure when we route a particular call to an agent, it goes to the right agent who has the right skill for the reason why customer is calling. We don't want to randomly send the call to whoever is available on the floor and then keep routing it to different people.
We've all been there. Us poor customers, we've all been there. We call someone and you feel like you repeated the problem like 7 times, and then let me pass you to this next department. And you're like, oh, do I have to say it again?
Exactly. And we have been there too, but this is the learning that we have had. How do we get better at it? And how do we make the best use of the agent's time on the floor? Because each one has different strength. So how do we route it to the right place? One agent has good experience. Mainly, customer also has a great experience in getting the issue resolved or getting whatever they needed. So I think all of these things play a huge role as examples.
That last piece you just hit at, I've never thought of it that way, but I can see it, right? Whatever you're best at, is you're going to be able to solve those problems the best so that your experience is best, because people inevitably want to feel like they're helping and contributing. So if I'm frustrated because I'm constantly getting hit with questions that I'm got to research or look up, then I got to know. I know I'm not doing that great because every question's like, I don't know the answer. I got to look this up. And so I can see that it's actually building a better work experience too for your agents, right? Because they're more, I guess, in their domain expertise.
We're all going through the journeys, so we all take our steps and learnings to get there before we get there.
When you mentioned earlier, the part of Autodesk is this new division or this new lines of business where you're actually really helping customers bring their physical designs to life, right? So I've designed it in AutoCAD. Okay, that's now I've reached that next step. The next step, of course, is to get the product or physical product made. I can definitely see the need for automation in that realm of the business significantly, because now you're talking about doing a lot of things that you won't have the signals. It's a lot different to automate for software, I've always said, because in software, you can change things really quickly and you can recognize the signals of what's happening. And then the impact or the cause or outcome needs to happen in the software as well. So if you're like providing updates for a SaaS user, that's easy. But when you're helping your success teams do things in the physical world, getting that data to know that, hey, this design's been approved, hey, that they've gone through this revision, that means that this is going to be implemented soon. I can see these like cues being immensely helpful, because getting things built in the physical world is quite challenging. I didn't know if you had the same experiences and if your customers were seeing the same thing.
I think that customers, as they start using more and more of our products and incorporating them up in the chain, I think this is the value we expect them to see. Like them also having little wastage to no wastage when they bring their designs to reality. Because sometimes what happens, you have an idea, thought process, then you bring to reality, you didn't expect the way it used to be, then you go back and do. We don't see, while we want to save some, it's not just about their cost of doing projects, it's also sustainability is a big thing. All of us talk about it. Where we feel strongly is we make a huge impact. If you are not doing wastage to our natural resources, which are always scarce, you're also helping in saving the planet. And we all have a responsibility. And I feel like our design products really help customers to be mindful while they are creating. They are also creating in a sustainable way, which will help the planet for long term. So that's what really connects to the purpose. I get really excited about it because it's not just about you're doing something that helps your customers, also the broader planet and ecosystem.
And that's pretty fascinating. Is that some? It sounds like, I mean, for sure, it's something you guys are expanding into. Like, what could it potentially look like in the future, or maybe we're already there? Because I'm when you said that, I started imagining like, what if Autodesk was tied into the supply chain so that I'm designing something, let's say made of metal, and it could figure out like, hey, you should order this much metal because this is all you need.
That's why I keep telling, if you are in a building, the building that was constructed, or the chair that you're sitting, or the phone that you're using, very likely that they have been designed using Autodesk software before they came into the real world. So that's why I tell, and that's how I connect people to when I talk about Autodesk and who we are. That's how I explain so that that connects to them. Oh, everything actually, everything, literally everything.
And I can see that like the downstream impacts of automation potential. Like when you say that, what do you think like the next 5 years is going to unlock? Because innovation goes so rapid. I hate to say 10, because 10's like, I don't even know what will happen in 10 years. but 5 years seems more plausible. Like what's going to happen in 2027? How do you think this is going to change the way your customers, the way us as consumers of these products, what do you think is going to unlock? You mentioned the better impacts for the environment. That makes sense. Like being able to more laser in on optimal materials, optimum uses of materials to reduce material waste. That makes a lot of sense. Any other ideas of how this type of automation and innovation is going to impact the future?
Yeah, on top of that, right, I think companies, including Autodesk, I mean, if companies are not doing intelligent or hyper automation today, they need to know that they are behind. You have to either have some of the work around automation, irrespective of what industry you are, you need to leverage it. It's not about replacing human workforce or not. I'm not a big believer of that. I'm a big believer of augmenting technology with human beings to really scale things. And so I feel like we have talked about citizen development and citizen automation. It is going to be huge. And consumerization is going to be, if not already there, it'll become the expectation of users going forward. And the only way you can continuously learn about users, because users' behavior keeps changing. It's not a one thing constant. You like this today and tomorrow you like something else. And how do I learn? I can't keep asking you to tell me what do you like. Based on your behavior, we need to know what do you like, Albert, and then I need to give you that personalized experience. So this hyper personalized experiences is what we will be expecting to create irrespective of what industry you are, and that requires a lot of understanding about the underlying data as well as creating that appropriate automation and stitching things together to get you that experience and to hide that complexity. Wherever you are, I think it'll be really fun to really do these kind of experiences and to give, whether it's to your employees, customers, or partners. People are going to be having this expectation, and that's where we will need to be investing in this, especially data. space, understanding and leveraging the data that we have about the users while maintaining privacy and other aspects, because which are very important, but really giving them that personalized experiences through automation is going to be a huge factor in future.
I think you echoed the sentiments of some of the RPA leaders that we've had on our shows before, talking about exactly that, which is automation does not take jobs. Automation unlocks innovation, meaning you no longer have to do or waste your time doing things that weren't creating a ton of value. It was more like, hey, it was brute force labor. Like you had to get these reports filed, or, you had to create these work streams, or you had to be a part of the process. Whereas if you could just automate the back end process, we think about it on our side. So like kind of give you a little snapshot, even though my company's way small, right? It's not an Autodesk, but we work in the podcast industry, and the reality is a lot of the podcast tools don't really have APIs for publishing. They all are trying to like make you use their product. So if you want to put it across many platforms, it's sometimes a bit of a challenge, and the data collection is a real challenge. So that's where a lot of our time is spent. I think to myself, like if there were ever APIs, 100% our team should, just like you said, invest in the automation so that we have a better outcome. My outcome is I would want my customers to have a more real-time reporting, and also my employees not to have to do it.
Yeah, they can do something interesting.
Our automation series is brought to you by Salesforce Platform and Dreamforce 2022. We don't want you to miss out on the world's largest software conference with a healthy dose of magic. So log in to salesforce.com/plus for more automation-focused sessions.